Most people will never be wealthy, and it's not because they don't earn enough. I've seen people making six figures who are still broke, and others on average salaries building serious wealth. I'm Ayo Noble, and today I'm breaking down the 7 deadly mistakes that's keeping you from building real wealth. These aren't just theories. I've watched these exact mistakes destroy my clients' finances before they came to me. By the end of this video, you know exactly what to avoid if you want to build generational wealth in 2025. The financial system isn't designed for you to win. Banks, lenders, and even some financial advisors profit from your confusion and mistakes. I've spent years helping clients transform their finances, and I've noticed clear patterns in what separates those who build wealth from those who don't. Here's what's crazy. The people who build wealth aren't always the highest earners. I've worked with doctors who are earning 150 grand a year with nothing to show for it. And at the same time, entrepreneurs who are earning 60 grand a year who are quietly building a 6-figure investment portfolio. In this video, I'm going to break down the 7 wealth killing mistakes most people make, why these mistakes are so common and how the system encourages them, what to do instead if you want to build serious wealth, and the mindset shift that separates the wealthy from everyone else. But before we dive in, understand this. Building wealth isn't complicated, but it does require going against what most people are doing. Let's get into it. Mistake number 1 is living paycheck to paycheck by choice. The first wealth killer is living paycheck to paycheck when you don't have to. Notice I said by choice. I do understand there are some people that can't save due to low income and high essential costs. This doesn't apply to them. This is about the person earning over 40 grand a year who still has nothing left at the end of the month. I see it all the time. People who get paid on Friday and are broke by Monday. Here's a real example. I had a client who was earning over 65 grand a year. That's over £3,800 a month after tax. But he was constantly stressed out about money. When we analysed his spending, we found that he was spending £1,200 a month on rent, which is reasonable, £600 on a car finance for a BMW, which was unnecessary, £400 a month on eating out and takeaways, £300 a month on clothes and shopping, and £250 a month on subscriptions he barely used. And the rest was given to random daily spending. So as you can see, he was living like someone who was earning 100 grand, meanwhile he was only earning 65 grand. The wealthy approach is very simple. Live below your means and not at or above them. If you earn £3,800 a month, live like someone who earns £2,800 a month and invest the difference. This isn't about being cheap, it's about being intentional. The wealthy spend lavishly on things they truly care about and cut ruthlessly on the things that they don't. However, the average person spends moderately on everything and builds wealth on nothing. Mistake number 2, buying liabilities thinking that they're assets. The second wealth killer is confusing liabilities with assets. Here's the simple definition. Assets put money into your pocket, liabilities takes money out of your pocket. Most people are buying liabilities thinking they're building wealth. That new car, liability. Designer clothes, liability. The latest iPhone, liability, unless you're making money from your iPhone. Now, I'm not saying don't enjoy nice things. I'm saying understand what they are, expenses and not investments. The wealthy focus on acquiring assets first. So it's not about not enjoying these things or not buying things, it's about priority. And these tend to be income-producing property, stocks and shares, businesses, or intellectual property. Let me give you a real example. 2 of my clients started on the same salary of 45k. One bought a BMW on finance for £500 a month. The other bought a reliable used Toyota for £5,000 cash and invested the other £500 a month in index funds. 5 years later, the BMW driver has a depreciating asset worth half of what they paid for it and nothing else. Whereas the Toyota driver still has a working car and over 40k in investments. That's the power of buying assets instead of liabilities. The rule is simple. Until you have assets generating significant income, minimize your spending on depreciating items. Buy assets that make you money and then use that money to fund your lifestyle. Mistake number 3, having only one source of income. The third wealth killer is relying on just one income. If you know me, you know that I always say one income is too close to none. Think about it. If your only income is your job, what happens if you get made redundant, or your company goes under, or you get sick and can't work, or your industry changes? I've seen people who were earning 6 figures one day and 0 the next because they lost their only income source. The wealthy typically have 3 to 7 income streams, and these might include their primary job or business, rental income from property, dividend income from investments, a side business or consulting business, royalties or licensing fees, and some sort of online income. Now, the good news is you don't need to build all of these at once. Start with one additional income stream alongside your main job. For example, I had a client who was a teacher who was earning 35 grand. She started a simple educational blog on the side, creating resources for other teachers. Within 2 years, that blog was generating 2 grand a month in passive income from digital products and affiliate marketing. That extra 24k a year completely transformed her financial situation. And to think all of that just came from her putting in 5 to 10 hours a week on her side hustle. Remember, your job gives you income, but multiple income streams gives you wealth and security. Mistake number 4 is following financial advice from the wrong people. Think about where you get your financial information. Could it be friends and family who might be struggling themselves, banks and financial institutions that profit from your debt, or colleagues who are in the same financial position as you? Now let me ask, would you take fitness advice from someone who's never been in shape? Would you take relationship advice from someone who's never had a successful relationship? Then why take financial advice from people who aren't financially successful? The wealthy are extremely selective about who they listen to. They seek advice from people who have already achieved what they want to achieve, professionals with proven track records, and those who make money from your success and not your transactions. I had a client who was following a popular finance guru on Instagram. This guru was telling everyone to avoid debt completely, including mortgages, and to only invest in gold and cryptocurrency. When my client finally spoke to a proper financial advisor, he realized that he missed out on so many years of property appreciation and compound interest in the stock market by following this misguided advice. Be careful who you listen to, because someone having a large following doesn't mean they know what they're talking about. Look out for results rather than popularity. The 5th wealth killer is building wealth without protecting it. This is something that I'm particularly passionate about. What's the point of building wealth if a health issue could wipe it all out? Or if your death could leave your family with nothing? Or better yet, if a lawsuit could take away everything you've worked for? Or let me ask, what's the point of building wealth if a market crash could destroy your retirement? The wealthy understand that protection is just as important as growth. So you might ask, how do they protect themselves? Well, they use things like life insurance to create instant wealth for their families when they're no longer around. They use income protection to secure their earning potential. They use critical illness to protect themselves against health emergencies. They use proper legal structures to protect their assets. And they use diversification to protect themselves against market volatility. I had a client who was building wealth the right way. Good income, solid investments, multiple streams of revenue. But he had no protection in place. When he was diagnosed with cancer at the age of 42, he couldn't work for 18 months. Now, without income protection, he had to liquidate his investments at the worst possible time just to survive. Another client in a similar position had income protection, which paid him 65% of his salary whilst he was ill. As a result, he didn't have to touch his investments, which grew significantly during his time off work. And because of that decision, when he recovered, his wealth was intact. Don't just build wealth, guys. Make sure you protect it. And as you know, I always say, don't die for free. Make sure your wealth serves its purpose, even if the worst happens. Mistake number 6, spending before saving. The 6th wealth killer is spending first and saving what's left, rather than saving first and spending what's left. Most people follow this pattern. Get paid, pay bills, spend on wants, save what's left, which is usually nothing. The wealthy do the exact opposite. Get paid, pay themselves first, which means savings or investments, pay bills, and then spend what's left. This simple change in sequence makes all the difference. When you save first, you ensure wealth building happens automatically. When you save last, it rarely happens at all. So that's 50% for needs, 30% for wants, and 20% for investing and saving. But the wealthy often flip this to something closer to 40% for needs, 20% for wants, and 40% for saving and investing. Now, the key here is automation. Set up automatic transfers on payday so that your savings and investments automatically happen before you can even spend the money. And make sure you pay yourself first, always. I had a client who was trying to save £500 a month, but always fell short. When we set up an automatic transfer of £500 to go out on payday, suddenly he was able to save consistently. His spending adjusted to what was left and not the other way around. Remember, it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you can keep and invest. The 7th and final wealth killer is short-term thinking. This is perhaps the biggest difference between the wealthy and everyone else. The average person thinks about this month's paycheck, this year's holiday, this season's fashion, and this week's expenses. Whereas the wealthy think about decades of compound interest, generational wealth transfer, long-term market trends, and legacy and impact. The difference in timeframes affects every financial decision. When you're thinking 20 to 30 years ahead, you make very different choices to when you're thinking 20 to 30 days ahead. For example, I had 2 clients who each received a 10K windfall. One spent it on a luxury holiday and home renovations. The other invested it in a low-cost index fund. The first client had some great memories and a nicer kitchen. The second client, assuming 8% average returns, will have about 100K in 30 years, enough to fund multiple luxury holidays and kitchen renovations. The wealthy understand delayed gratification. They're willing to say no to small pleasures today to have greater rewards tomorrow. What it does mean is balancing present enjoyment with future security and abundance. The wealthy enjoy life too. They just don't sacrifice their future to do it. Now, because you made it this far, here's a bonus tip. the wealth mindset. Before I wrap up, I want to talk to you about the mindset shift that underlies all of these principles. The average person has a scarcity mindset, which means they're likely to believe one of the following things: that money is hard to come by, wealth is for other people, there's never enough, and if someone wins, it means someone else has to lose. Whereas the wealthy have an abundance mindset. So they're likely to think the following things: money is a tool that can be created and multiplied, wealth is accessible to anyone who follows the right principles, there's more than enough for everyone, and value creation leads to win-win outcomes. This mindset is crucial because when you believe that wealth is scarce and difficult, you make decisions from a place of fear. And when you believe wealth is accessible and abundant, you make decisions from a place of opportunity. I've seen this mindset shift transform the finances of clients more drastically than any specific tactic or strategy. Once you truly believe you can build wealth, you start noticing opportunities everywhere. The wealthy don't just have different habits, they have a fundamentally different relationship with money. They see money as a servant and not a master. They use it as a tool to create the life they want and not as a scorecard of their worth. Developing this mindset does take time, but it starts with a decision to think differently about money and wealth. I would suggest you read books by wealthy people and study how they think, and surround yourself with people who have healthy money mindsets. So there you have it. The 7 wealth-killing mistakes that you want to avoid if you want to build real wealth. Now, avoiding these mistakes won't make you wealthy overnight. And as you know, building wealth is a marathon and not a sprint. But these principles applied consistently over time will dramatically increase your chances of achieving financial freedom. Remember, wealth isn't just about having money. It's about having options, security, and the ability to live life on your own terms. And it's about creating a legacy that outlives you and impacts multiple generations to come. The choice is yours. You can follow the crowd and make these wealth-killing mistakes, or you can think differently and build the wealth you deserve. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button and subscribe for more financial education content that actually makes sense. For those of you who are serious about building wealth, I've created a free wealth building blueprint that goes deeper into the strategies we've discussed today. Click the link in the description to download it. And if you want personalized guidance on your wealth journey, I work with a limited number of clients each month to create customized financial protection and wealth building plans. DM me the word wealth or click the link in the description to learn more. Before you go, check out my video on how to set up your finances in the UK right here, where I break down the exact system I use to manage money efficiently. Remember, it's not about how much you make, it's about how much you keep, how hard that money works for you, and how many generations that money impacts after you're gone.